Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2023-24 season. My name is Dan and it's time for a Game Week 21 episode of the 100 Experts. And I'm very excited because we've got loads of great data from the top FPL managers and hopefully we're going to be able to find some trends to help us choose our Son and Salah replacements and pick our captaincy for this Game Week as well. So loads of good stuff coming up today. Hope you enjoy. If you do, make sure you do drop a like, do subscribe if you're new around here. Let's get started. So first of all, a massive thank you to the 100 FPL experts, pundits, content creators, enthusiasts, experts, all the other words that I can think of in my brain. Yeah, thank you so much to these people. It's a tough week for a lot of people to try and make their decisions. A lot of people are very confused. So I am really grateful, in particular, this game week for these guys for sharing their data, sharing what they're up to, sharing their plans for Game Week 21, because I think it's really going to help a lot of you guys out. It's certainly helped me out kind of learning what the trends are going to be like this week. So let's have a look at them. So out of our 100 expert managers, we've got 15% making one transfer, and then we've got 47% making two transfers, 19% are making three transfers. So yeah, that's a significant amount. I don't think we've ever seen that many, that high percentage making three transfers or more. And we've got 11% using the wildcard as well, and just 8% not making a transfer at all this week. And what we have seen is a lot of the people not making a transfer this week, a lot of them were wildcarders from Game Week 20. So they kind of wildcarded last game week, so don't really need to make transfers this week. But I think if you didn't wildcard last week, you're probably going to want to make a transfer, and probably multiple transfers by the look of this data. Of course, we have got 11% using their wildcard. Now, that is a small trend, but that's certainly not enough to say this is definitely a wildcard week or anything like that. And if you are worried about your team right now, let me reassure you, a lot of our experts are taking -4s and -8s this week. A lot. Probably like at least 30% are going to be taking a hit this week. So that is quite a significant number. So yeah, you could save your wildcard. You could use it. It's going to be team dependent. It's going to depend how dire your situation is, but I imagine most of our experts have planned in a way where they probably don't need to use a wildcard. But never mind, guys. This is a big week for transfers, and as such, we've got loads of data for you. But first of all, a look at the overall trends. Okay, so looking at the most popular Game Week 21 transfers in the world, and there has been a lot of transfers. So many people in the overall FPL player base chose to go early with their transfers, and I have a feeling some of them might be regretting it too. But hopefully you guys have still got your transfers ready to go, and if not, hey, maybe there's always -4s to be taken, I suppose. But yes, guys, Palmer, by far the most popular transfer in the world, followed by Phil Foden and Bowen there in third place. Bowen, of course, now probably going to be injured. We're pretty convinced by this point that he is going to be out for Game Week 21. We're looking at Game Week 22 as an earliest possible return, but even that is a little bit risky. We've also got De Bruyne here, who has recently come out and said, yeah, I think I'm going to be benched. I mean, I need to look after myself. It's going to be a slow, me slowly getting into the Man City team again. Yeah, obviously, a lot of people transferred him in before he said to everyone, yeah, I'm going to be on the bench, guys, against Newcastle. So, yeah, frustrating one. Estupiñán there, Trent Alexander-Arnold, who recently we learned that he was injured in the FA Cup against Arsenal, and he's going to be out for possibly a month, which is, again, frustrating. And then various other players there, including an Erling Haaland, who still hasn't even made the bench, hasn't made full training. We have still no idea what the Haaland situation is right now, but it doesn't look particularly good. So, you can see a lot of the most popular Game Week 1 transfers in the world are players who are actually injured or, unlikely to get minutes. So that is problematic, of course. What are our trends saying? What do our experts think? Are they bringing in any of these players? Well, yes, they are. Cole Palmer, certainly a heavy transfer in over the past several months. So Palmer is always going to be popular among our experts. Foden, a really popular pick as well. We're going to see just how popular Foden is momentarily. Estupiñán is popular among our experts, and so is Saka, Richarlison, and Diogo Jota. So out of the popular picks of the world of transfers, these players are also popular transfers in among our experts. All of the other players, pretty much no love whatsoever, with one exception, which I am going to talk about. So De Bruyne, no one's bringing him in. like I say, he literally said, I'm probably going to be on the bench against Newcastle, so that's certainly not something that fills us with confidence. De Bruyne is going to be eased in slowly. There's going to be rotation there, and no expert manager wants to go in on a player like that when there are so many other good options available. No one's going for Trent, of course, because he's injured. Pedro Porro, I think anyone who has Pedro Porro already has him. If you want him, you probably already have him. Maybe there's some other options in defense to go for instead if you haven't already got Porro. Haaland and Watkins, I mean, a lot of people own Watkins already, so won't be looking to bring him in this week. And Haaland, we still don't know if he's available or not. So none of our experts fancy Haaland for this game week at all. There's one exception, and that is Bowen. And a lot of our experts did actually bring in Bowen. They made early transfers this game week, and all of them regret it. All of them regret it. They are kind of concerned about that. But we've seen a lot of top managers this week. We really have make those early transfers. And I know there's going to be people in the comment section, and they're going to say, how can you be an expert if you make early transfers? Look, there's no one right way of playing FPL. I've seen a lot of, even content creators going in early is selling Salah to Bowen because they wanted to get ahead of the price changes. They wanted to build team value. Maybe the kind of going early on the transfers kind of maybe impacted future transfers and the budget they needed for future transfers. So there's no one right way of playing. Now, I personally would always prefer to wait, but that doesn't mean everyone's going to feel that way. So if you did make an early transfer on Bowen and you now regret it, don't be too hard on yourself. You took a risk. Obviously, it didn't pay off, and you do have to take that one on the chin. But at the same time, don't listen to people saying that you were an idiot and what you did was wrong, because it's just a different way of playing FPL, and that's what you chose to do. Sometimes it's going to work, sometimes it isn't. That's the game, right? So, yes, we did have some experts going on early on Bowen. Thank you very much to those experts who did admit that to me, that they did make the mistake. But yeah, all of them really regretting that decision. So maybe lessons to be learned there. Not sure, but let's move on. So here are your transfers out. The most popular transfers out are pretty much neck and neck, but there is one player who just edges it, and that is Mo Salah. 60 transfers out of our 81 transfer-making managers this week. That's pretty crazy. And just behind him is Son on 59 transfers out. Now, there's different advantages to each of them. Now, Salah is probably a player you're more likely to want to get back guaranteed and sooner. You're really going to want to get Salah back as soon as he's available again for Liverpool, most likely, depending on your chip strategy, but that's a whole other thing. Son is a player who frees up less budget, though. So if you want to free up a lot of budget, Salah is the player to sell. If you are not too worried about freeing up budget and you know that you want to get Salah back into your team very soon, then maybe that you sell Son and you keep Salah in your team, on your bench, whatever. Now, what we've seen from our data is that about half of our expert managers are selling both Salah and Son, and the other half are selling one or the other. So there's no real right answer here. All of them are selling at least one of them, so I should definitely note that down. It doesn't look like anyone's really keeping them. I think maybe there's one person or two people who keep in both of them. Really, really rare, unique situation. I don't think that is a trend or anything like that. So you would be looking at selling at least one of them. Which one you want to sell is kind of up to you, but there's also an option of selling both. As I say, about half of our experts are doing them. Both of these players are going to be out for probably 3 game weeks at the very minimum. Son, we're expecting to see him out for 5. Salah, probably more likely he's going to be out for 4 game weeks, I would say, but he could be out for 5 as well. But that is just speculation. Let's move on to some other of the most sold players. Trent Alexander-Arnold could be out for quite some time. He's going to be out for this game week. He's probably going to be out for the following game week as well, and he might be back for the fixture after that, but we're looking at some difficult fixtures from then, sort of looking at like an Arsenal fixture where Trent might actually be returning. So it's going to be difficult whether you should keep him or not. Obviously, he's a super expensive player, and if you're also keeping a Salah or a Son, then you're probably going to want to, sell Trent, because you can't leave too much money on your bench. That's just not going to work. Your main starting 11 is just not going to work. So, yes, Trent, very, very popular sell, but not everyone's selling him. A lot of people are going to be keeping him, maybe waiting for more information over the break between Game Week 21 and Game Week 22. He's not a must sell, but he is a player people are selling. Definitely an optional sell if you are a Trent owner. Bowen is being sold. Some people even bought Bowen in and then resold him again, which is pretty crazy, but that's just the way the game is. Simicast, Lascelles, these are players not going to be getting any game time really, so they could be sold. And Trippier, a couple of people selling Trippier as well. With that said, let's move on and see who people are buying. Well, I'm sure a lot of you guys have been wondering which midfielder should you buy. You know you want to sell Salah or Son, I imagine, but you don't know which midfielder you're going to replace them with. Now, the most popular midfielder to bring in is actually Foden. So our experts fancy Foden as the #1 kind of Salah-Son replacement. Now, maybe you actually say it's Palmer because we've only got 3 transfers in for Palmer, but that's because pretty much all of the top managers already own Palmer, so not really, he's not really going to see strong transfer trends. But outside of Palmer, if you own all of, like, a lot of the main template players anyway, Foden really does stand out as a good transfer in for this game week. Experts agree 33 out of 81. That's over a third of our managers who are making transfers are going to be bringing Foden in this week. So that is quite significant. It really, really is. Now, there's a little bit of risk when it comes to rotation. When we kind of get down the line, when De Bruyne is playing a few more minutes, we might see Foden rotated a little bit. But for now, I think he's pretty much good. After that, we've got Pervis Estupiñán. So we go from the most popular midfielder, and then we've got a defender, actually. It's the second most popular transfer in. So obviously, only some of our expert managers are removing Trent. There is a variety of different defenders that people are removing for Estupiñán. So basically, I think the situation is going to be, if you've got a defender in your FPL team right now that you're not totally happy with, and you want to upgrade them or replace them, then Pervis Estupiñán seems to be a massive shout. Really, really popular pick among experts. Foden and Estupiñán, I would say, are the 2 hype expert picks for the game week. But after that, we've got Diogo Jota, who's not too far behind with 26 transfers in. So there's some decent numbers there as well. If you don't fancy Foden for whatever reason, Jota is going to be the second most popular midfielder among experts. After that, we've got Gross. Yes, Pascal Gross, a few people going for him as well. 17 managers. That's quite a lot. Again, it's a decent number. This is quite a decent amount of people putting their faith in Gross. After that, that's the Bowen numbers. That's the unlucky number 13 transfers in for Bowen for those people who went early on their transfers. A lot of these people are now taking -4s to not necessarily sell Bowen, but certainly to make sure they do have a full starting 11, because it just does not look like Bowen is going to be starting in Gameweek 21. But again, that's going to depend on how strong your bench is, whether you do need to remedy that situation or not. A lot of people bought Bowen. Like, it's just a fact. It's happened now. You know, you got to take it on the chin. This is just one of those things that happens sometimes when you make early transfers, and yeah, we move, right? But yeah, certainly, even though Bowen is in the top transferred in players among experts, he's certainly not a recommended transfer, and I'm sure all of the experts who did bring Bowen in will tell you the exact same thing. Yeah, it was a mistake. Next up, Richarlison. 12 transfers in for him, so there's a little bit of numberage there. Some Spurs fans are a little bit worried about Richarlison rotation when Timo Werner beds himself in, and we've got kind of Maddison back and Son back, but that is a problem for next month. That's a problem for later. For now, Richarlison is going to be a really nice, solid pick for the short term, so no problem with going for him. 12 transfers in for him. After that, a few people bringing in Saka, who maybe didn't have him before. Garnacho is a bit of a differential. 4 transfers in for Tony, differential again. Luis Diaz, differential. 3 transfers in for him, and of course, Palmer at the bottom there as well. So with that all said, let's suggest some transfers before finally talking about captains. So suggested transfers are basically all about Salah and Son replacements, and I would just go for whoever your favourite is from this list of players. So starting off, Foden. Here's the expert's choice for the best replacement for Salah or Son. Maybe excluding Palmer. Difficult to quantify if you should be buying Palmer if you don't have him already. But you might find soon that maybe you should be buying Palmer. But certainly, as a Salah-Son replacement, if you already have Palmer, Foden, top of your list. He is your #1 target. After that, if you have Foden already or you don't like Foden, Diogo Jota is your man. Liverpool with a possible double game week in Game Week 25 as well. I guess City are a similar situation to that. They could also have double game week in 25. So yeah, that's why City, Liverpool, these 2 midfielders from those teams are going to be popular, because there is a possible double game week very soon. After that, the third most popular choice, excluding Bowen, is Gross. So obviously Brighton have some phenomenal fixtures, have really, really nice run of fixtures coming up, and Gross is a significant downgrade. He is very, very cheap, so that is going to allow you to kind of make future upgrades. You know, if you're looking to bring in Haaland next game week, for example, downgrading down to Pascal Gross might really help you do that. So definitely a consideration if you are looking to free up some funds and trying to make sure you have enough money for Haaland. 2 more suggestions. We've got Richarlison here as well, if you fancy him. 6.9 million, so he's kind of between the prices of Gross and some of those other expensive guys, Foden and Jota. Definitely still a good options, but Richarlison much more of a short-term pick. So you would be looking to bring him in if you were just looking for a player for the short term, maybe looking to remove him again, back out for a Salah or back out for a Son as soon as those guys are back from their international competitions. You just they just switch them back, basically. Also, Saka here, 9 million, quite expensive, but if you don't have Saka already, you want to get back to the template. Maybe bringing Saka in could be the answer for you guys there. And finally, a defensive suggestion, because it seems to be all about midfield transfers this week, but some people are making a defensive move. Trent Alexander-Arnold to a Estupinian could definitely work for you. Another way of freeing up budget, again, particularly if you want to keep one of Salah or Son maybe, and you also want to bring in Haaland into your team, or you want to spread your funds a little bit. Maybe that's going to be a nice downgrade for you, and you can maybe think about when you could get Trent back in the future. And finally, captaincy. I mean, what did you guys expect to see here? Because honestly, I had no idea what we were going to see. It seems like nobody knows who they're going to captain when we kind of look around the world. We look at other content creators. We look on Twitter or Instagram or TikTok. It seems all over the place. Nobody's fully sure who's the captain. But when we gather all the data from our experts here together, we've got a favourite. We have got a standout expert pick for captain this week, and I didn't expect to see that this week. So guys, if you have been wondering, who should I captain? I really have no idea. I wonder what the top managers are doing. Who are they captaining? Well, most of them are actually captaining Palmer. If you thought this was going to be a super split game week, I think maybe you might be wrong, because Palmer is the standout captain pick. 51% on him. He's playing against Fulham at home. That's a decent fixture. Fulham have got a couple of players missing. Obviously, Palmer, we saw in the League Cup game yesterday that he's going to get a lot of chances to score. Whether he buries them or not is another question. But Palmer has just looked like the standout attacker in this Chelsea side, and Fulham at home is a decent fixture. So you can definitely see why you would go for this. Now, obviously, Palmer is a very cheap player, and that is going to put off a lot of managers, because you have this idea in your head, no, I shouldn't captain a player who is that cheap. You know, we're meant to captain the expensive players, right? But at the end of the day, Palmer has been performing like a huge player, you know, like a really big player. We've seen him get these huge scores in FPL already, and he can do it more. He's on set pieces, he's playing super far off the pitch, he is nailed on, he's on penalties. He's got everything you need in a captain and everything we typically see in a premium FPL asset. So do not let that cheap price tag put you off from the fact that Palmer is the standout captain this week. But he's not the only option. He really is not the only option, because there are other options. We've got Saka on 21%. Now, that's not nothing. That's not nothing. That is still something. Against Crystal Palace at home, pretty decent fixture. Saka, his underlying numbers have been phenomenal, despite the fact that maybe the actual output from Arsenal hasn't quite been there. But Arsenal got a lot of time to prepare for this fixture against Crystal Palace, and they will be looking to bounce back. And half of the battle is creating the chances and being in the right places, and Saka has already got that covered. So I still do think he's a decent captain pick, maybe not with the quite high ceiling of the likes of Palmer, but there is more options still. 7% on Watkins. He plays against Everton. We've got Diogo Jota on 6%. So a lot of people bringing him in and captaining him immediately. Phil Foden against Newcastle, 5%. Julian Alvarez all the way down at 4%. I did not expect to see him quite that low. Thought Alvarez would be higher, in all honesty, but 4% for him. There is still a few people looking to captain him. Tony as well, and a couple of the people who are wildcarding actually could have obviously any player in FPL that they want. They're bringing in Tony and captaining him against Forest as well. Super interesting. Now, Tony does have a FA Cup replay fixture that he is going to be able to play. So he is going to be warmed up. This is not going to be his first top level game back. He's already played a friendly. He's now going to be playing hopefully in an FA Cup replay, and then after that, that's when his game against Nottingham Forest will be. So don't think that this guy is someone who just hasn't played top level football for a while. He will already be on his way to building himself back up by the time this Forest fixture arrives. Now, there are a couple of 1%ers. They are crazy. I don't know where they've come from, but I will just tell you them anyway, because it's entertaining if nothing else. And our 1%ers are Pascal Gross and Malo Gusto. My lighting just fell apart, apparently, on the left of me there, but we'll carry on anyway. Pascal Gross and Malo Gusto. 1% for each of those players. Not really sure where that idea come from, why those guys are being captained. Doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, but we have to include them in the expert data because otherwise we would be manipulating the data, and we don't want to do that. So yes, guys, in summary, on captaincy, Palmer is actually our standout choice. Saka is a contender there. Aside from that, it's a bit of a free-for-all, so go with your gut. But if you can't decide, Palmer's your guy. Thank you so much for watching today's video, guys. If you did enjoy, make sure you do drop a like on the video. It really does help out the channel a lot. And do subscribe if you are new around here as well. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on what you've seen in today's video. Are you going to be captaining Palmer? Are you going to be going with this obvious pick that's now emerged? Or do you have different ideas on who the best captain is? Let me know in the comments who you are going to be captaining in Gameweek21. But aside from that, guys, make sure you check out another video if you want to. Loads of other top Gameweek21 videos on the channel. And I'll see you later, mates. Bye-bye.